Welcome back to the channel. This is Raventhorn, and we are going to be doing our Dark Elf how-to guide for newcomers, noobs, whatever you want to call yourself. If you need help, this is what this is for. And with Malekith as being the kind of epitome, the king of the Dark Elves, we're going to use him as kind of our showrunner. Please leave comments down below if you want to see other how-to guides. The next one that will be coming out at you is Norska. So, this is why you want to stay tuned. 5 steps. Really easy. You want to have, number 1, how you start out and how the Dark Elves play. Number 2, small unit tactics and how to use the Dark Elves effectively in small units. Number 3, setting yourself up for success. Number 4, technology and diplomacy. And number 5, large army unit tactics. I'm also going to be adding kind of like a sub number right here because I'm really going to explore the Black Arcs because I'm wondering if people know how useful they have become for general all-around purpose. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what we're going to do is, number 1, we're going to starting out what you should be doing and then how Dark Elves play. So Dark Elves operate very heavily on slave income. And the best way you can really see how slaves hit is right here. This button right next to the rights. And essentially, it tells you that in your settlement, the province, Iron Mountains, you can have up to 2,000 slaves, your current number, the capacity, which is just your, number versus max, decline per turn because your slaves die off. They do. They die off as time goes on. And this is how much income they are producing. And you can buff that number up with different rights, buildings, and province effects. This is how much public order debuff they are because they don't want to be slaves. They want to rebel. So you can get multiple rebellions really quickly if you're not careful. And then you can just filter out to, like, if you had a whole list, you could just, hit this. Or, Anyways, then if you're going to set up one certain province for to be a slave income place versus another one where you just took over and you don't want them to have slaves going off because you're going to have a big battle. Because every time you have a battle, every time you take over a place, there's going to be slaves. It's going to happen. And Dark Elf lords can gear themselves up towards that. So anyways, you can have them receive slaves, receive additional slaves, which, greater majority are going to this settlement versus another one, or stop receiving slaves. That's really key to knowing where to send those slaves, because that's a really big part of your income. As you saw, about 420 is the income right here, and then when it tells you the effect of the slaves. Alright, so I kind of messed that up. That's the settlement values versus the effective slaves. You got the picture. You got the picture. Anyway, so we start off with Malekith. Pretty standard army, but he gets to start off with his Black Guard of Nagron. The Black Guard! Sorry if you don't know that video. Colon Chariot and Reaper Bolt Throwers. This is your staple kind of troops. Your Dread Spears with Dark Shards. They're repeating crossbows, so they're one of the fastest shooting. But they're not necessarily the most accurate. But the really big thing is armor piercing. Armor piercing missiles in a crossbow. Let's equate this to dwarves and Empire. You have to get the rifles before you can ever get armor piercing to your damage. So this is a really big thing, and it's going to help you tremendously. Great way to take advantage of it. Alright, so we have a couple different places that we can go, we think. It's Skaven. There's Skaven in them hills. That's why it's all Dark Elves have a hard, because of the recent Skaven updates and everything, Skaven are really, really, really strong. To the point that they're just annoying as all get out. You get a sorceress. She's going to be a fire, so just go ahead and you can check her abilities. Tough, okay, great. At least it's not a terrible one. She's going to boost up the ability to find magic items. And so First and foremost, we're going to check out our town. We can't really build anything because we already have our conscription halls here, as well as the Dark Elf Landing. That's your main source of income for right now. Plus, this is really just how you recruit units. But since we can't use any of this, and you have such a nice pile of money, go ahead and start spending it. Alright, so now we can actually start moving Malekith to doing things. Now, remember what I told you, that most provinces already start at war with places? Just so you guys know who we're at war with, we are at war with Clan Septic. So we're already at war with the stupid Skaven. Now I bet you they're up in them hills, because that's our next place to go. And we need Rakdo Gorge and the Altar of Ultimate Darkness. Not just regular darkness, ultimate darkness. So let's actually move up to here and go ahead and start recruiting some extra units. Because you have the port, you can recruit the Blackheart Corsairs, Dread Spears, Blackheart Corsairs with handbows, and Dark Shards to go a little bit into units. Go ahead and get the Blackheart Corsairs when you have a Black Arc. That's the key. These guys are really good. Anti-infantry and then fires whilst moving. So they're very short range, but repeating hand crossbow. And again, they have, while they don't have armor piercing damage because it's not a huge crossbow, they have anti-infantry damage. So really big thing. Actually, stop. I wanted to show this. Bonus first large. Oh, they changed it. Or maybe I didn't change it. I mean, that's really useful. I mean, if you don't think that you can't get a volley on some... Man, that's really good. But we want to bulk up our main battle line right here. We want at least 3 of those, and then we will take some Black Orc Corsairs just because we can use them to be circling around and shooting things. Very much so like our Cold One Chariot, because it does have a ballista on the back of it, and then we have our Reaper bolt throwers. So go ahead and get your army going. Normally I like to show small unit tactics really quickly, but we have to go to a settlement first. So the next thing really is, alright, we're skipping a couple steps, but it's only because we have to do there. So when you do technology, you immediately start doing this. To get to the next technology, you have to spend quite a big chunk of change, and you have to have all 3 trees right here, the main branches of the trees, researched before you can go into the next technology branch. But each of these trees right here give you another 3 to choose, but we can't really do anything right now, so we're just going to start researching that. I want to talk about that a little bit more. We'll get to more about that later on. Oh, geez, we're going to be moving back and forth. Oh, I really don't need to... Alright, we might, alright, let's see. Allied factions. Alright, we'll just hit that right for right now, because I don't want to be going back and forth, seeing what Malice is doing over here. That's not the point. We're not playing a full campaign. Alright. There's a Skaven hero. I would say that there's Skaven. Alright. Okay, so we know that there's Skaven here. Let's see what we can do. Should we do an ambush stance to try and get him out? Or should we maybe, yeah, as he says, burn it all? But we don't know. This is what's annoying about Skaven. Any other faction, you can be raiding and you know that there's people there. But with Skaven, because you don't know there's a settlement there, even though we know there's a settlement there, you don't get anything from raiding. It's so silly. Yes, we're going up in money because we have a upkeep. Still though, very annoying. We'll go do that stance. Because we can go up to here and hit the golly gee old dude on the turn. Stop it. I don't want to look at you. Can I? Nope, I can't move. I have to look at these guys.
Merciless. Carnage awaits.
Alright, we are going to do this because this is small unit tactics. Pretty base tactics again. You'll notice a theme of most small armies have to abide by the same tactics, except for some really the specialized ones. Alright, so we are back, and we're just going to set up a nice spear wall to be able to take on any charges here. And then we have our dark shards, or just crossbows, able to shoot. They do not shoot as far as like high elf archers or other units because they have the repeating crossbow. Missile Chariot, though it has a really good it's capable in melee.
Bolt throwers. Black guards.
And we'll just leave our black guards to guard our Reaper bolt thrower because Skaven have a nasty habit of popping out of the ground.
Sorceress of Grand.
All shall tremble.
Bolt throwers.
Alright, so with bolt throwers, and this is for the high elf or dark elf variations, you get to choose 2 different shots. I really wish they would add this to other artillerymen. But you get to choose if you want to have multi-shot, which is bonus versus infantry, or standard round, which is bonus versus large. Very useful. Very, very useful.
Chariots. Cold-blooded killers.
We'll just adjust our line here. Ooh, I don't want to adjust it. They're kind of advance a little bit. And looks like the clan rats are going around here, so we will kind of go around to the left.
Dark Elves. Moving out.
You can just, be
Onwards to murder. Forward.
run around.
Sorceress of Grand.
True heir of a
Now,
nation.
reason why I'm doing this, I want to showcase Malekith. He has a really cool spell called Chill Wind. Now, if you're ever curious about how that works, click on the spell and then move it before casting it. And that will allow you to use a directional. Not all spells get that.
I crave battle.
Nagarothi.
Whee! The problem with Skaven is they just keep coming back because you can't catch them in time to.
Misery for all.
On to slaughter.
Apparently, a Reaper Bolt Thrower. What do we do, guys? What do we do to stop that?
As
Yeah,
you say,
guard mode.
destroy. Nagarothi. Cold-blooded killers. Die, weaklings.
Sorceress of Grund! Striking out!
Now, here's the difference. When you see a skull next to a white flag, that means that they are broken for the entire thing. They are just going to be running. A white flag, though, means that they can actually return to the battlefield if they can get their morale up.
Chariots! Battle ready!
Servant of Hecate! Sarothan!
Chariots! Massacre them!
We'll just fast forward, because all we're going to do is just break them. And we win. So small unit tactics, what I would really say is just know where your flanks are, know your enemies, and then use your artillery starting out. Really better than I did because I didn't have them on guard mode. Alright, 4 different options. Occupy, loot, and occupy, sack, or raise. Now, loot and occupy gives you a massive amount of slaves. We will just occupy because we already have a public order thing right now. Ooh, nice.
My cruelty knows no limits.
Okay, so now we're going to discuss kind of how to set yourself up for success, and then I'll skip over through time. Pay attention to your buildings. This is a growth building. Growth is really hard for elves versus, let's say, men and things like that. So growth is very important. It also hits the slave decline rate, which pretty much means when it has a plus, it's increasing the speed of the slaves decaying off. Minus is lowering it. And we'll kind of go through the buildings just a hair over here, because these are your main buildings. You will not be playing around with this very often until at least a little bit further on. We'll show you that, though. This is your main income building. Again, slave decline rate goes up. Torture posts. So you get public order. This is your main public order bonus. I don't think anything else actually. Okay, so the slave slums will give you, but that's like a defense place. And then have slave pens. So this will increase the amount of casualties captured, which means more slaves, and then it boosts up the income per slaves in the province. Per 100 slaves, you get 10 extra gold. That doesn't seem like a lot starting off, but when you actually upgrade it, the slave income goes to 20. Now you stack that up a couple times, and now we're going to really delve into it. Oh, okay, we don't have any slaves. I thought they would have had at a battle. Well, I'll go into that when we get to next time. So, this place has already set us up for a pretty decent short-term boost. We'll go ahead and do one more intern because it's going to actually unlock our 4 things, and we'll just go through that really quick with you. And then into your leaders, you know I love the blue line, and this is where I mean you can really have your lords focus on slaving. Infamous Raider, you can kind of play these guys any way you want. And then he's a really good spellcaster melee guy, and he gets quite a bit of really nice stuff, like 4 items right off the bat, and they're all pretty sure different slots, so you actually get to use them, whereas like Call Franz has 2 weapons, so you have to give it up 1. Gold shield, that's nice. 70% small units. We'll get that because leadership is decently important for elves. And then with her, We'll spread the public order, and we'll increase our scouting ability, which just means more magic items for us. And magic items are really important. And here's why. And this is setting yourself up for success. Say you want to recruit another lord. You have to pay attention to loyalty. Each of these lords can be recruited, but this one has loyalty 1 through 6, so you can only ever get up to 6 total, plus your modifier, which gives you +2, I believe. Khaleesi gets up to 5 to 10, etc., 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 2 through 7, 4 through 9, all of that, okay? How you increase loyalty is you give them magic items, you give them more troops, don't take away their troops, and don't take away their magic items. That way you increase their loyalty, or at least they stay that way. However, if they get too low of loyalty, they will rebel, and they will take whatever stack that they are currently loaded on. So if you know one's going to rebel, plan ahead of it, and get them down to a small army. That way they can't take much threat to you, and do not have them sitting in one of your towns that are undefended. So, alright. So now I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead, and I'll see you in a little bit.
There is growing unrest.
Alright, welcome back. So, I know that we were going to go in, like I was going to cut ahead, but I recognized that I didn't hit the end turn where I could build more things. So the big thing is that Nagaron has a famous a tradable resource, which is marble. This is really, really nice. Sometimes it's not worth it, but these ones are. Marble is a great resource to trade, and it also gives minus 20% for all building costs in the entire region. So, here you go. That's that. You do want to build this. And then for this, right off the bat, what we can do, slave public order penalty, that minus 5%. So this actually slows down their decline. But you have to pay for it. And yeah, I was wrong earlier. This is not a garrison. This is just a slave slum. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. Alright, so slave pens, no. What we're going to do is we're going to get the torture posts, because this actually is worth it to put it in a larger town, because you can't upgrade it fully in other places. So we want to get this right here. And we will upgrade so we can start getting our hero units. And now we're going to go into a couple more turns, and then I will see you back for more diplomacy, technology, and then yeah, large army unit tactics for uniting our entire province. So, see you in a little bit. Alright, welcome back. We haven't expanded too much. We have gone through and we're uniting our province here. We have a pretty sizable army of Skaven in this place here. We don't have easy auto-resolve, but I think we can still do this because of just our main concern is the Poison Wind Globadier, so we will be focus firing them quite a bit. And we're going to have to take advantage of our spells to really get it done. But if we look at the terrain, what you can do is you can turtle up, and I may take advantage of at least the flank here, because you want to control where Skaven can come at you, because they have such numbers that they can get around you pretty easily. So we'll see what the actual map looks like, but that's a pretty decent place to hole up. Now, normally, if you do not have artillery, if you're attacking, you have to do the attacking with the army. But if you have artillery, it forces the AI to come at you. So let's actually see here. Yeah, that's actually a very good commanding spot, and it has a nice little slope. So what we will do is, while we won't, completely go into this little corner and and hide, we will secure our flank very easily with a nice unit right here. We might actually just spread this out just a wee bit more.
Taruki! Dread spears!
Go like that. We do have our Black Arc hand crossbows. And we do have 2 units now of Black Orc Corsairs. Kind of broke my own rule, but because they are so anti-infantry, it's extremely useful to use them. Right now, especially with Skaven. And let's check our line of sight here. If you ever need to do small movements, you can press and hold Alt and move or drag and move around the unit just so you can get a little bit fine tuning. Like I want to move these guys just a hair more, just so they can see over that ridge. When the units get to about here, we don't really want to be shooting artillery into them anyways. We want to be relying on our dark shards. Yep. Good. Decent. Could be better. Alright, what are we going to do? We are going to put our guys on guard mode. Come on, move it over here. And we're going to put our black guard. We can move these guys either way to either flank, and they will just be a wall that the Skaven break upon. So, the next big thing is go ahead and group up your units. So that's way it's just easier to move back and forth between them all. And then it's easier to micromanage units like Chariots, which do require quite a bit of micromanaging. Alright, they are going to probably group up, and then they'll be coming at us. So we can actually turn. Turn our
Bolt throwers! Carnage awaits!
Eager for blood!
See, I don't think you have. Now, what we did do is because she is a sorceress of flame, I like the Flaming Sword of Ruin, because what it lets you do is that in this area, this circle area, she will be able to buff all units with a plus 40% missile damage and plus 40% weapon damage, and it gives them fire damage. Which, if you right click, it just shows you in depth. Click it again, take it off, and we'll hit play again. I just kind of really wanted to explain why I have this spell instead of like Skull of Ruins or things like that. Or Flaming Skull or whatever it's called.
Moving out! We are ready! Moving out! Corsairs! To destruction!
And just because they're kind of getting, you know, they're sitting here by themselves, and we can't really shoot them until about that mark right there, we will do some speed. I may just kind of skip until they're a lot closer to the action. All right, now they're coming at us. Don't want to lose one of my chariots already, but I do want to just keep them nice and enticed till about that line right there.
Going!
Alrighty, so now they're within range.
Cold-blooded killers! Chariots! The merciless host! Slaughter them!
Try and aim your artillery to where it's going to do the most damage.
Struki, forward!
which is a nice big cluster like that.
Bolt throwers!
And now that the Poison Wind Globadiers are in range, we are going to focus fire those guys quite heavily. Because they gas. Just, there's a reason why it was banished.
Dread spears!
Sorceress of Grond!
All shall tremble.
Dark shards! Dark elves! End them! Corsairs! We are ready! Black guards! Blood for Cain!
This is what I was talking about with the magic. We'll go ahead and buff out all of our ranged.
Dark shards! Stop!
So what I did there is I told them to stop with the target fire on the gutter runners and then just hit toggle fire at will again, because now they'll just shoot whatever they want to. And now we can
Slash!
shoot
kill.
them.
Corsairs! Die, weaklings!
And now, because they've left their exposed flank, we can get right on in here.
Advancing! Blood for Cain! Black guards! Bolt throwers! Onwards to murder! Advance, Struki!
Fear me.
And let's go ahead and get Malekith
Sorceress of Grond!
into there.
Carnage.
And let's get a nice sweep. Right here, you think?
Attend me.
Black guards!
And now we can get our chariots, make them small, remember?
Battle ready! Dealers in death!
Now we can make them bigger, because now they don't have to worry about being encircled.
I will have destruction.
Battle ready!
And we can just charge right on in.
I thirst!
And we want to be buffing out our melee more, but we don't mind if we're buffing those guys.
Aria! Aria! Aria!
Malekith.
Malekith use his ability to make these gutter runners break.
Kla. Kay. Hear my words. Massacre them.
Dark shards! Corsairs! By your command! Death is coming! For the king! Corsair handbows! Bolt throwers! Slay them! Attack!
I lust for slaughter.
Nagarothi!
Now, because we don't want to expose because they can get pretty easily enraptured.
Dealers in death! Forward! Murder awaits! Going!
Just use our cavalry to run them down.
Corsair handbows! Onwards to murder!
I crave battle.
Yep, their artillery just
Nagarothi!
going to town. And we'll do that same thing.
Done.
Sorceress of Grond!
We are ready! End them! Nagarothi! No survivors! Ratkin filth!
Alright, now here comes the specialty of the Dark Elves. When you kill enough people, you get Murderous Prowess, which does a whole host of things. Plus 40% armor piercing damage, plus 10 leadership, plus 40% melee attack, plus 40% charge bonus, plus 30% vigor. That means that they are going to run faster, hit harder, shoot harder. I mean, they just break everything. These are... It's the most fun when you're a Dark Elf player. But when you're facing Dark Elves, that's the time that they are the most dangerous. Now, you might be saying, oh, well, man, Dark Elves are just... They can go through 4,000 rats. Well, let's be a little bit more... They had quite a bit of unshielded clan rats, which is kind of your base troops. They had Skaven slaves, which have no morale whatsoever. And we got really lucky at our placement of where we were able to form a shield or a half moon where our focus fire was able to really take effect. Rolling Hills and Malekith with his line ability just freezes everything and just really... That's why you want to have a nice strong battle line. Let them hit you, use your spell, and then micromanage your wings of your either cavalry, monsters, chariots, and then pay attention to where your things are shooting. Because we already have a rebellion going on, you guys don't know that, but we're going to go ahead and loot and occupy because we need the slaves. So this is why I'm going to say you need to move quickly against Skaven, whichever faction you are. Move quickly against Skaven unless they are already a legendary lord, because they're going to have their starting bodyguards. Really, because if you move against a small-time clan like this, they're not going to have very much threat. They're going to have a lot of clan rats, and if you play smartly, then you will win against them. But if you let them go too much longer, they will get up the numbers to be able to overwhelm you. Alright, so we are almost ready to end the episode, but we're going to skip ahead a little bit longer just because I want to really talk about Black Arcs and I need some more slaves to be able to do that. See you in a second. Alright, welcome back. So I'm going to go into this really quick before getting into the Black Arcs. We still don't have enough slaves, but we're raiding right now to get the required amount of slaves. And so what I did with the technology tree is I did go down to this bottom one, and here's why. We need growth. Growth is very important for us. I explained that earlier on. And then exploit feuds is a very good one because you get public order +1 and slave decline rate -10%. This way our slaves will last longer and pay us more. This would be a decent one. These are decent ones, bottling up on it. But what I want to show you is that to be able to even go here, we have to have all three of these researched. So go ahead and grab these when you can, especially when I got an event that gives me a +100% research rate. But here's why I would say after this branch, go to this one. Because you're going to actually use quite a lot of Black Arc Corsairs because we're going to be having the Black Arc soon. And these two are really good synergy where when you sack a settlement, you get +20% more gold. Upkeep -5% for Black Arc Corsair units. And then the Naval Training, which gives you +2 for Corsair, Shades, and Dark Riders. Here's why that's really important, and it doesn't seem like it's really important, is Shades. Shades will replace almost every single one of your ranged units, probably mid-late game, because they are so good. Talk about, let me show you. Actually, it's much, much more fun if we can just show you. Alright, Shades. Shades. They have stock, Vanguard deployment, armor-piercing missiles. They don't have as much range as your regular crossbow units, but they do almost as much damage, and they're really good infantry-wise. And here's the fun thing. They can be upgraded to Shades with greatswords, or shades with dual weapons. And here's where they get a little nasty. They have bleed damage, or they have stagger shot with their missiles. So their dual weapons have anti-infantry and they have bleed, whereas these guys have stagger shot. So if you mix and match, they're devastating. And combine that with your high-end army anyways, these guys very easily start replacing your regular just archers. Should you rush trying to get them? No, because you need a level 3 settlement just to recruit them, and you shouldn't even try and do it unless you have a capital town to be able to start getting the House of Exiles. So, it's very much more of a mid-late game, but I wanted to point that out, that right from the start, your technology can start boosting those guys. So, we're ready to get our slaves up, and then we'll be able to do the arc, and we'll be able to finish this playthrough up. See you in a little second. Alright, welcome back. Last two little things. We will get to our diplomacy with Dark Elves, and then our Black Arcs. It's kind of in a little bit of a rough going, but it's okay. That's what makes this fun, is that every single playthrough is different. So, with diplomacy, you will have non-aggression pact neighbors, such as Harganath, declare war on you. So, what you do is you defeat them in battle, and you don't really want to be tying up your... I mean, look how big they are. They're rather large, and you have several hostile barbarians up to your north. So, what we'll do is, because we beat them up... Ooh, we can't, nope, they don't want to offer and get any peace. Well, that's okay. That's okay. We kind of need to repair a little bit. So we'll go into our fortress over here. Now, what you need to do to get to the Black Arc. So, mostly about diplomacy is, yes, you are kind of that nation that you can confederate. You have to have pretty good relations with someone to confederate. Like, you can probably get Malice to confederate with you later on. And in case no one knows, he is way down here. He's not in the mood to confederate because he's still doing decently. You can see his strength rating. He's still okay. You can confederate, but you're going to have either beat the snot out of them and then force them to confederate, or just take him over anyways. Your choice. You will get trade. You can trade. I recommend either finding some nice Skaven, because those guys will stay loyal to you longer than most Dark Elves. Depends on the Skaven. And then the next big thing is that you need to have two things for your Black Arc. And why am I going into Black Arcs? Well, because CA recently changed what Black Arcs can do. So you need two things. You need to have this building, the Slaves' Pens. That unlocks the right of Mathlan. And you have to sacrifice 1,250 slaves, and then you're going to get the ability to get a Black Arc. So we'll perform that right. And then here is why they are really nice. We can get to recruit the Black Arc. We have tons of money from all the fighting we've been doing. And here's why. All Black Arc lords are now independent lords. You can give them items, and they are utterly loyal, unless they've done a patch on that, but they're utterly loyal. Don't have to worry about it. They get campaign movement bonus, upkeep discounts on Black Arc Corsairs, fighting at sea bonuses, unbreakable, all this. Look at all this. All from one dude. To recruit him. And what we're going to do here is they're very much like the hordes of the orc hordes or the beastman hordes. Don't know of any other one hordes. I don't think of any. Anyways. Oh, pirates. They're very reminiscent of the pirates, where you have your main line, and you get better and bigger black arcs. You have your main recruitment tree, and then you have all of these. It's pretty much like a floating city of that you can do. And you can improve special abilities. And why we want to improve special abilities is now, see this dotted line? It's kind of hard to see over here. But you see this dotted line right here? That's the Black Arc's area of influence, or bombardment range. And why we say bombardment is that any army that takes place a battle in this bombardment range, you get 3 special abilities that I think you have 3 charges each, where you can do single point damage like a lightning strike. You throw a cauldron of boiling blood, which explodes and does tons of damage, or a series of rocks fall, because you're pretty much reenacting U.S. naval bombardments on anything you wish to do. Now, here's why you can have really a lot of fun with them. Now you can get economic buildings for them, where income is being generated, black art growth, which is a really heavy thing because you can't build anything without growth, very much like a horde. And then your economic buildings can also, your sphere of influence will give you more bonuses for fighting inside them. And then torture posts, all recruits will do this. But here's a really nice thing, is that this guy can recruit Black Art Corsairs for a decent amount. Now here's what we'll do.
High Beastmaster.
Right now he's only level 1. And he's not getting too much of a discount here.
I will stay strong.
But
Tyrant of
if you go here, upgrade the Black Arc, you're going to get upkeep discount. Okay, that increases. This, another discount. And another discount. And almost all of their buildings go towards discounts to make your mobile army at sea cheaper. So you can actually have a larger army with black arcs than you can have on land, because of all the discounts that they can rack up, and not counting any items you give or anything like that. Now, they're a little limited on skill trees because they don't have the extra line that a lot of lords have. But you can have the red line, blue line, their yellow line, and then all Dark Elf lords that aren't legendary lords get martial name or revered name at rank 10. These are really cool. You can really get into an RP aspect with them. But what you're going to really want to... excuse me. What you really want to concentrate on is the blue line, merely to the fact that the upkeep just keeps on going. I mean, you can rack up really quickly, almost a 50% discount. Now, that might be capped at some point, but use that to get a reinforcement army, because you can take over ports with black arcs. So, alright, so Hargonath, no. Yeah, alright, so Blacklight Tower. Say we were at war with these guys. We could sail our Black Arc over here and take their town with a Black Arc. Just like an army is. I guess we could have just done Haggrave. Haggrave, which we would want. You do want to try and at some point get Haggrave. It's a very, very nice settlement. But what you can also do, if we didn't have this guy in the town, we can station a Black Arc into a port town and give public order bonuses with the army. Because, well, shenanigans. So, use the Black Ark effectively, stay near the coast, use that bombardment or area of influence effectively, always know where that line is. If you're strong enough that you can go outside of it, great. But what it's really good at is helping out small armies, because, look, you can recruit either from your local province, which right now he's getting a discount because of some effects here, but normally you couldn't recruit in an enemy province. Well, the Black Ark lets you do that. So be on the lookout. I do plan on doing a Dark Elf campaign soon as I get done with my other campaigns, and I'll probably doing Loki or Fellheart because I really like him and I want to get a little bit better at him. I've played Malice before. It's a great campaign, but I don't know if it would be a good playthrough because everyone seems to be doing it, so I'll go back and play other lords. Alright, so here's the quick recap. We've done who the Dark Elves are and how to get started with them. We've done small unit tactics. We have done setting yourself up for success. We have done then technology and diplomacy, kind of off and on because that was kind of a mix-up with just how diverse their starting region is for Malekith. And then number 5, large-scale unit tactics, which is pretty much you need to take advantage of your battle lines, take advantage of their spells, and then micromanage your chariots or cavalry more effectively, and then don't be afraid to use their range damage. Early on, Dark Elves are really good at range damage, and then if you get a sorceress with fire that's buffing them plus 40%, that's even nicer. So take advantage of that, and then progress on, and like we showed you, go after those Skavens pretty quickly. They're relatively weak. Get a decent stack. You don't need a full stack. This is a pretty strong army here. Malekith is not necessarily the strongest melee lord, but he will stand himself up to like a regular Skaven versus like a legendary lord like the Hagrenath. Not Hagrenath. Hargadoth. She hurt. She was mean. She's pretty strong. Setting yourself up for success, take advantage of the different economic buildings. You remember you do need slave pens to take advantage of that. Rakdo Gorge, we could set up like the slave slums to offset how this one is making our slaves depopulate. This one's making our slaves depopulate. Well, you use slave slums to offset that penalty so that we can continue growing your slaves and getting more income. Now a little bit more in-depth look at those slaves. Just because we actually have numbers now. We're at 1% capacity with 190 slaves out of 10,000 because our slave cap has gone up as you increase your towns. This tells you what the province total income is, the total public order, and this is what the slaves are doing. They're producing 14 gold for 190. And then there's 0 public order bonuses or negatives. You won't ever get a bonus. You'll always get negatives. So I don't know why I said that, but still. When you have more, it just kind of keeps going. And then when you have multiple provinces, you just want to start balancing that up a little bit. And that's why we explained these first 3 right there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the content, please go ahead and hit the like or subscribe button. And that little bell icon, that just tells you when I've released a new video. Your support is so welcome. Your comments below. I love replying to all comments. If you look back at all my videos, I respond to every single comment as best I can, making sure that I have a good conversation. So reach out. If you have questions, let me know. And then let me know in the comment sections below as well what faction you want to see after the Norscan campaign. And, yeah. Till I see you again.